in search operations despite high water levels and poor weather conditions. They have also deployed a helicopter to rescue stranded workers at the Rasu Wagadi hydropower project on the Trishuli River, which is much closer to the Chinese border. Many traders have been stranded after the critical bridge.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Channa.
And I'm Hemkaur Saroy, and on the show today, US President Donald Trump has intensified pressure on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to end the war in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister wrapped up his White House visit after a second hour-long meet with Trump. We'll bring you all the details of this on the show today.
Also on World DNA, Prime Minister Modi is on the last leg of his five-nation visit after attending the 17th BRICS summit in Brazil, where he also held bilateral discussions with President Lula da Silva on diversifying trade ties as well as expanding cooperation in clean energy, sustainable development and mitigating climate change. Of course, defense developments there as well. Let's start with the headlines. This is World DNA.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meets President Donald Trump for the second time. The 90-minute meeting took place, as reports said. A Qatari delegation arrived at the White House as part of the Gaza deal negotiations.
Israeli military releases a video which is said to show a strike on a key Hamas figure in Tripoli. Lebanese state media says 3 people died and 13 were injured in the attack.
France's intelligence chief says all aspects of Iran's nuclear program pushed back several months after US and Israeli airstrikes, but says only a small part of Iran's highly enriched uranium stockpile has been destroyed. The rest remains in the hands of the authorities.
We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. It's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
US President Donald Trump says he is not happy with Russian President Vladimir Putin and is considering additional sanctions on Moscow, underscoring his frustration over the growing death toll in Russia's war with Ukraine.
Donald Trump defends his Attorney General Pam Bondi amid fresh scrutiny over recent Justice Department revelations in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking investigation.
US authorities to end policy asking airline passengers to remove their shoes for security checking. Police policy to end nearly 20 years after it first came into effect.
The chorus for the release of former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan grows as sister says his sons will go to US to raise the issue with Trump's administration and then lead the PTI movement in Pakistan.
Authorities struggled to contain a wildfire in southern France that forced Marseille airport to close and interrupted train traffic, which has not been fully contained.
Donald Trump announces 50% tariff on copper imports, sending prices to record highs, and warns of a looming 200% tariff on pharmaceuticals, giving drug makers up to 18 months to shift production to US. Specific tariffs also set to hit in August. All right, our top story on World DNA. Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu met for the second time in 24 hours as the US president intensified pressure on the Israeli prime minister.
Of course, that pressure is to reach a deal to end the war in Gaza. Now, the Israeli leader departed the White House after just over an hour's meeting with Trump in the Oval Office. The talks were held without any media access. Ahead of the second meeting, Trump told reporters that he wants to solve the tragedy of the war in Gaza.
I would say almost exclusively Gaza. We got to get that solved. Gaza is a tragedy. It's a tragedy. And he wants to get it solved, and I want to get it solved. And I think the other side wants to get it solved. Steve, could you talk on that, please?
While Netanyahu earlier said that Israel is closer to a ceasefire deal with Hamas, but declined to offer details about talks, saying that we are certainly working on it.
Well, we're certainly working on it. I can't speak in advance. You need, you need several parties to tango. It's not even two here. But we're working on it diligently as we speak. In fact, on the way over here and on the way from here, we're not going to let up. We have a goal. We intend to achieve that goal.
Furthermore, during a visit to Capitol Hill, the Israeli leader met with House Speaker Mike Johnson and praised military cooperation between the United States and Israel.
Would I like to see that Israel would have the capacities that the United States has? Yeah, of course we like it. Who wouldn't want it? But we are appreciative of what the assistance we've received. And I think it's served not only the interests of Israel's security, but American security and the security of the free world.
Netanyahu's return to the White House for fresh talks came after Qatari mediators warned it would take time to seal an elusive ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas at the talks in Doha.
According to reports, Israel is set to submit a new set of maps on Wednesday detailing its proposed troop redeployment in Gaza. This move comes after the previous version was rejected by Hamas due to disagreements over the parameters of the IDF's withdrawal during the 60-day Gaza truce being negotiated in Doha.
On the other hand, Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff has reportedly pushed back his flight to Doha, where he was slated to join the talks on a ceasefire. Earlier said that he is hopeful of a ceasefire agreement within days, adding that the deal would include the return of 10 live hostages held by Palestinian militant groups and 9 dead hostages.
Hostilities meanwhile continued on the ground. Gaza's civil defense reported 29 killed in Israeli strikes on Tuesday, including 3 children. 5 Israeli soldiers were killed in combat in northern Gaza, one of the deadliest days this year for the Israeli forces in the Palestinian territory. They were reportedly killed by improvised explosive devices, IEDs, near Beit Hanun in northern Gaza. The Israeli army said they will continue to attack and cleanse this area in order to remove the threat.
Meanwhile, Lebanon said 3 people were killed in a strike near Tripoli that the Israeli military said targeted a Hamas militant, the first on the north since a November ceasefire with Hezbollah.
And Trump expressed strong dissatisfaction with his Russian counterpart Putin's handling of the war in Ukraine.
Now, during a White House cabinet meeting, he said that he is considering additional sanctions on Moscow and expressed concern over the high number of casualties in Russia's war with Ukraine.
Now, Trump reiterated that he was very unhappy with Putin's stance on the Ukraine war, calling his diplomatic efforts meaningless. And this comes after a recent phone call between the two leaders, which failed to make progress on a peace deal that Trump has pushed for since returning to power.
That was a war that should have never happened, and a lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get we get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Now this criticism comes as Trump has pledged to send more defensive weapons to Ukraine, reversing a previous decision to halt some arms shipments.
Move that pause.
We want to put defensive weapons because Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that.
So who ordered the pause last week?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has ordered to expand contacts with the US to secure critical deliveries of military supplies, primarily air defense. And this move aims to expedite deliveries of vital aid to Ukraine, enabling the country to defend itself against Russia's intensifying advances.
Today, I instructed the Minister of Defense and the Commander-in-Chief to intensify all contacts with the American side. We currently have the necessary political statements and decisions, and we must implement them as quickly as possible to protect our people and positions. This primarily concerns air defense, as well as all other elements of supply from the US. These are critical deliveries that mean saving lives and protecting Ukrainian cities and villages. I expect results from these contacts very soon, and this week we are preparing formats for meetings of our military and political teams.
As fighting continues, a Ukrainian drone targeted a beach in the Russian city of Kursk, killing 3 people, including a serviceman, and injured 6 others, with at least 1 in critical condition. Local authorities called the attack barbaric, saying the attack had been carried out deliberately in an area frequented by families in the region that borders Ukraine. For more on this, a correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Listen to this.
President Trump said that he's seriously considering sending Ukraine an additional U.S.-made Patriot missile battery, describing it as a defensive necessity to help Ukraine counter Russia's escalating attacks. However, he made clear that he doesn't support a quote-unquote blank check approach to military aid, signaling that he wants stricter oversight and potentially limits to future packages. Now, the Pentagon has been asked to prepare options for delivering more Patriots or sourcing them from allied countries. The move would mark the first time President Trump has approved a major weapons transfer for Kyiv that wasn't pre-authorized by the Biden administration. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World this one.
And Donald Trump leapt to the defense of Attorney General Pam Bondi in the face of mounting criticism over recent revelations in the Jeffrey Epstein case.
And this is when a reporter attempted to ask Bondi about Epstein at a White House cabinet meeting, and Trump headed off the questions and scolded the journalist. Listen to this.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Now, the president's response appeared to signal his continued support for Bondi. The Attorney General is facing questions over the Justice Department's acknowledgement in a memo on Monday that Epstein did not maintain a client list. Most of these attacks are coming from elements of Trump's support base, including far-right influencers and conservative internet personalities.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years.
Just returning back to Russia, if there's anything that you would signal about your displeasure with them?
Well, look, I'm very unhappy with them. There's no reason for this. It's, and also...
Bondi had previously suggested in a Fox News interview that a client list was sitting on my desk for review. But the Attorney General said on Tuesday that she was referring to the Epstein case file in general as being on her desk.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
Bondi also sought to explain why the public has not gained access to more of these Epstein files as promised.
Video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day.
Now, she also played down the speculations about a missing minute from the video of Epstein's jail cell, saying it was not conclusive, adding that the evidence prior to it was showing that he committed suicide.
And when it comes to air travelers, there seems to be some good news, and this is from the United States. Passengers going through airport security in the US will no longer have to take their shoes off for security checks.
Now, the Transportation Security Administration has been requiring most US air travelers to remove their shoes during screening for nearly 2 decades.
And Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced the end of the unpopular policy effective immediately. Members of TSA's pre-check trusted traveler program, as well as kids and elderly, were already exempt from this screening.
TSA first implemented the no shoes policy in 2006, almost 20 years ago. And in those 20 years, since that policy was put in place, our security technology has changed dramatically. It's evolved. TSA has changed. We have a multi-layered, whole-of-government approach now to security and to the environment that people anticipate and experience when they come into an airport that has been honed and it's been hardened.
Now, the TSA began making passengers remove their shoes to screen for explosives in August 2006. The policy was implemented nearly 5 years after the 9/11 attacks, and when Richard Reed, known as the shoe bomber, used matches in an attempt to ignite explosive devices hidden in his shoes, Noem said the administration wants to improve travel experience while maintaining safety standards.
She added the passengers will still pass through multiple layers of screening and they will go through identity verification.
So there will be individuals at times that will be asked to remove their shoes. If we think there's additional layers of screening that is necessary, that may still happen to an individual. But we are excited with the fact that we have the technology now, that we have the multi-layers of screening in place that we built in over the recent several years that give us the ability to allow our travelers to keep their shoes on.
Now, while the rule was being evaluated under the Biden administration, Noem credited President Trump with taking the initiative to eliminate it and said that changes to other TSA rules are also being considered if they can be safely implemented. Now, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian is facing backlash back at home.
And this is after he expressed willingness to restart high-stakes nuclear negotiations with the United States. Pezeshkian said that Iran has no problem resuming talks so long as trust could be rebuilt between the two sides. Now, the critics back home for Pezeshkian are calling him out for being too soft on Washington.
Pezeshkian's remarks came after U.S. Special Envoy to West Asia Steve Witkoff said that the talks could be held in the next week or so. U.S. President Donald Trump also confirmed that talks with Iran have been scheduled, adding that Iran wants to talk.
We have scheduled Iran talks, and they want to talk. They took a big drubbing, I think, when we hit the 3 sites. Really, I would say the 3 sites, not just the one. The one was a big one, and it was deep in granite, and it was obliterated, it turned out.
Contradictory to what US President and his West Asia envoy said, Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghel said that Tehran has not submitted any request to the US side for any kind of meeting. Less than a month has passed since Iran and Israel were locked in a war. US also joined Israel and launched aerial attacks on Iran's nuclear infrastructure.
The sixth round of talks were scheduled to take place 2 days before the beginning of the 12-day war. The negotiations have been stalled since. From bunker busters to diplomacy, how will Tehran and Washington cut short this path remains to be seen.
Rishi Sunak, once the youngest British Prime Minister in 2 centuries, is stepping into a new arena now, a new role, but it's not an unknown territory for him.
Now, the former UK leader is set to join Goldman Sachs as a senior advisor. This is his first major role since resigning as Conservative Party leader after the Labour Party's landslide 2024 election win.
Before becoming UK's Prime Minister, his tenure as Chancellor of the Exchequer solidified his understanding of fiscal policy, including stimulus packages and austerity measures. After steering Britain through an economic roller coaster and pandemic, lockdowns and energy shocks to inflation spikes and interest rate wars, Sunak now brings that crisis-tested expertise to one of Wall Street's most influential institutions. While Sunak's tenure wasn't perfect, his lavish lifestyle wasn't appreciated by the British people at a time when the cost of living was soaring. But under his leadership, the Conservative Party suffered one of its worst defeats.
Sunak will advise the American MNC Goldman's global clients on geopolitical and macroeconomic risks, offering insights on everything from regulatory shifts to trade wars and elections. And in a volatile world of rising nationalism, unstable markets, and AI-driven disruption, Sunak's experience is more valuable than ever.
The stakes for his new employer, Goldman Sachs, are clear. Post-Brexit trade disputes, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and China's economic shifts have created a world where geopolitical risk is a daily concern for investors. Sunak's expertise in Brexit negotiations was crucial as Chancellor. He helped steer the UK through its exit from the EU, a process that reshaped trade agreements, regulatory frameworks, and investor confidence.
Now, France and Spain are battling wildfires. The blaze is spreading rapidly.
In France, an airport has been forced to shut, and the rapidly spreading wildfire has reached the outer edge of Marseille, while in neighboring Spain, thousands of people have been told to stay indoors.
In southern France, the situation remains critical. At least 5 people and 5 firefighters were injured in southern France, where a blaze continues to burn for a second day. More than 1,000 firefighters were working to bring it under control.
The raging wildfire from the outskirts has now descended into southern French city of Marseille, France's second largest city, leading its airport to be shut down. All takeoffs and landings remain halted.
Local authorities urged residents to stay indoors and to keep off the roads. Strong winds have fanned on the flames, causing the fire to move exceptionally fast. Firefighting planes are battling the wildfires. Key motorways remain closed.
The fire remains active and the weather conditions are changing. We know that sunshine and the period between midday and 6 p.m. make fires more sensitive and prone to ignition and faster spread. There are always times of the day that are more unfavorable. The night was favorable for us, the wind dropped, humidity increased and temperatures fell, so we deployed significant resources.
In Catalonia, Spain, authorities have imposed a lockdown on 18,000 residents. Several dozens have been evacuated as the wildfire rages out of control, consuming almost 3,000 hectares of vegetation.
Large parts of Spain on high alert for wildfires after the country experienced its hottest summer on record. More than 450 firefighters backed by helicopters and planes were deployed across large swathes of Tarragona, the Catalonian region, battling the blaze.
Wildfires have gutted 5,000 hectares of land in southern France, while in Spain, a 30-kilometer hilly stretch along Catalonia has been engulfed.
And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. On the other side, Prime Minister Modi is on his way now to Namibia after concluding his Brazil visit. This will be the final leg of his five-nation tour, which began on the 2nd of July.
Also on the other side, jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan's sons will now take charge. Two sons will be leading a campaign for the release of their father. More details on the other side. Stay tuned.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Hello and welcome. This is World DNA. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show as well. Let's get started with the headlines first.
We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Donald Trump says he is considering additional sanctions on Moscow, says Putin's warm words are ultimately meaningless.
Jeffrey Epstein, this guy's been talked about for years.
Donald Trump defends his Attorney General Pam Bondi amid fresh scrutiny over recent Justice Department revelations in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking investigation.
Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu meets US President Trump for the second day. The 90-minute meeting took place as reports said a Qatari delegation arrived at the White House as part of the Gaza deal negotiations.
Israeli military releases video set to show a strike on a key Hamas figure in Tripoli. Lebanese state media says 3 people died and 13 were injured in the attack.
France intelligence chief says all aspects of Iran's nuclear program pushed back several months after US and Israeli airstrikes, but says only a small part of Iran's highly enriched uranium stockpile was destroyed. The rest remains in the hands of the authorities.
US authorities to end policy asking airline passengers to remove their shoes for security checking. Policy to end nearly 20 years after it first came into effect.
The chorus for release of former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan grows as his sister says his sons will go to US to raise the issue with Trump's administration and then lead the PTI movement in Pakistan.
Authorities struggled to contain a wildfire in southern France that forced Marseille airport to close and interrupted train traffic has not been fully contained.
The US is slapping a 35% tariff on all Bangladeshi exports starting next month, shaking its $40 billion garment industry. Factory owners warn of mass layoffs and economic fallout as Dhaka scrambles for a deal in Washington.
Defending champion Tadej Pogačar claims his 100th professional victory on stage 4 of the Tour de France. The Slovenian is now level at top of the general classification.
Prime Minister Modi is on his way to Namibia after concluding his Brazil visit.
Now, this will be the final leg of his 5-nation tour, which he began on the 2nd of July. Brazil was Prime Minister Modi's 4th destination, where he also attended the 17th BRICS summit. After the summit, Prime Minister arrived in Brasilia, and Prime Minister Modi is the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Brazil in 57 years on a state visit.
During the visit, Prime Minister Modi was conferred with the Grand Collar of the National Order of the Southern Cross, the highest civilian award of Brazil, by the Brazilian President Lula da Silva himself. Now, later in a post on X, Prime Minister Modi expressed his gratitude to President Lula and said, "This honor illustrates the strong affection the people of Brazil have for the people of India."
Prime Minister Modi held a bilateral discussion with Lula da Silva on diversifying trade ties as well as expanding cooperation in clean energy, sustainable development and mitigating climate change. The leaders also agreed to deepen collaboration in defense, security, agriculture, space, semiconductors, artificial intelligence and digital public infrastructure.
During a joint press conference, Prime Minister Modi called President Lula the chief architect of India-Brazil strategic partnership. He said that they have decided to take bilateral trade between India and Brazil to $20 billion in the next 5 years. Prime Minister Modi also thanked President Lula for Brazil's solidarity and support following the Pahalgam terror attack.
मैं इस सम्मान को भारत के प्रति उनकी गहरी प्रतिबद्धता और हमारी अटूट मित्रता को समर्पित करता हूं। हमने आने वाले 5 वर्षों में द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को $20 बिलियन तक ले जाने का लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया है।
After concluding his Brazil visit, Prime Minister Modi emplaced for Namibia, marking his final leg of the 5-nation tour. This will be the first visit of Prime Minister Modi to Namibia and also the third ever prime ministerial visit from India to Namibia ever. He will also be addressing Namibian Parliament during his visit.
Prime Minister Modi started his 5-nation tour on the 2nd of July from Ghana and then visited Trinidad and Tobago and then Argentina before arriving in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro for the 17th BRICS summit.
Now, dispute erupted between the Indian government and tech giant X over the temporary blocking of the accounts of prominent news outlets, including that of global news agency Reuters.
X claimed that on the 3rd of July, India's Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology ordered the platform to block over 2,300 accounts. X claims that the list provided by the Indian government included Reuters and Reuters World. The accounts were asked to be blocked within 1 hour. The company said that it complied to avoid legal penalties, but India has flatly denied issuing any such blocking order against Reuters, insisting it instructed X to unblock the agency's handles immediately after learning they had been restricted. According to a government source, X delayed action by unnecessarily exploiting technicalities, taking over 21 hours to restore access. The platform says the accounts were blocked under Section 69A of India's IT Act, which allows the government to restrict online content in the interest of national security and public order. X said that it was not given justification for the sweeping order and urged impacted users to pursue legal remedies through courts.
The company also highlighted its limited legal standing under Indian law to contest such orders directly, but stated it is exploring all options.
The controversy is the latest flashpoint in a tense relationship between the Indian government and the platform owned by Elon Musk. Earlier this year, X sued the government in an Indian court, accusing it of circumventing legal safeguards through widespread and unaccountable censorship measures.
Now in India, protests are taking place over language row in Mumbai.
Several members of a regional party, MNS, Maharashtra Navnirman Sena, have been detained after they defied a ban on public demonstrations. Protests are taking place against people from other states for not speaking the local language, Marathi. The protests took place in a suburban area just outside India's financial capital. Members of the Maharashtra Navnirman Sena claim traders in the area are refusing to speak Marathi.
Despite being denied police permission, citing security risk, M&S workers went ahead with their rally, resulting in a wave of detentions. Police say an alternative route was offered to avoid disruption, but protesters refused.
The M&S is known for promoting regional identity, has long campaigned for the use of Marathi in public life, and has been accused of using intimidation tactics to enforce it. This is of course, the recent protests also targeted a reversed government order that would have made Hindi mandatory in primary schools in the region. The M&S called this an attack on the local culture. Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis, later defended the police action, stating that protests were not banned but needed to follow safety guidelines. With India home to dozens of languages, people from different states head to metropolitan cities like Mumbai for employment, and incidents like this can have a domino effect in other states as well. And in Pakistan, jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan's sons will now take charge. The two sons will be leading a campaign for the release of their father.
In essence, they would be taking on the all-powerful Field Marshal of Pakistan, Asim Munir. Listen into the announcement made by Imran Khan's sister about Imran Khan's sons.
The sons are Suleiman Khan and Qasim Khan, both in their mid-20s at this point, to lead the campaign for the release of the ex-Pakistani Prime Minister, Imran Khan.
जो इमरान खान के अपने बच्चे हैं, सुलेमान और कासिम, उनको ये बता दिया है कि वो अब सुनने को वो भी तैयार नहीं है. हम ही ने उनको रोका हुआ था, लेकिन अब वो पहले तो वो जा रहे हैं अमेरिका, और वो अपने जो दोस्त हैं उनसे कहते हैं अगर ये जा सकते हैं तो हम भी जाएंगे, और हम जाके बताएंगे यहाँ इंसानी हकूक़ के साथ और क्या जुल्म हो रहे हैं उनके वालिद के साथ. एक दूसरा, सुलेमान कासिम ने कहा है कि उसके बाद हम आएंगे पाकिस्तान, और वो तहरीक के अंदर अपना हिस्सा लेना चाहते हैं.
Now, the announcement of Imran's sons to take the charge comes hours after the Pakistan government intensified its crackdown on dissent, blocking Imran Khan-led PTI's YouTube channel, as well as banning 26 others.
In Pakistan, the jailed former Prime Minister, who despite his incarceration in Rawalpindi's Adiala jail, remains the most potent political force in the country, commanding the streets, the diaspora and a digital army keeping his voice alive. On the other hand, there is Asim Munir, who stands at the top of Pakistani institutional authority. Just last month, Munir had rushed to Washington to seek an audience with the US president. Now, Imran Khan's sons would be urging Donald Trump to release their father. The two sons have earlier urged the US president and the international community to call for their father's release from a Pakistani prison.
Now, the tiff between Imran and Asim Munir is an open secret. Imran Khan and Asim Munir is an open secret. Despite being behind bars, the former Pakistan Prime Minister continues to target Asim Munir. Earlier this month, they spoke about the vindictive nature of Asim Munir, saying that the Field Marshal turned against his wife Bushra Bibi after being removed from the post of Director General of the ISI.
Imran Khan has been incarcerated in Adiala jail of Rawalpindi, the garrison city, since mid-2023 in connection with multiple graft and the May 9th violence, which the cases related to these incidents. In the months that followed, the party was disbanded, its members fighting elections under different identities. And most recently, the banned party also lost all its reserved seats in National Assembly.
And the United States has announced a 35% tariff on all Bangladeshi export goods starting next month,
sending shockwaves through the country's $40 billion ready-made garment industry. The move comes in a letter from President Donald Trump to Bangladesh's chief advisor, citing trade imbalances and calling for a reset in bilateral terms.
Now, Bangladesh is the world's second largest apparel exporter after China, and nearly 25% of its garment exports, valued at around $10 billion, go to the US. The new tariff follows an earlier 37% hike imposed in April, which was, of course, as you know, temporarily deferred after Dhaka requested a 90-day grace period.
Factory owners across Bangladesh are racing to ship as many orders as possible before the end of July to avoid the looming tariff wall. Many supply to leading American brands and fear the added costs will make them uncompetitive.
It's very complicated situation, very unclear, and most unclear, more risky for us. So it is very bad time in next 3 weeks. I think it will be a sleepless time for the manufacturers, those particularly dealing with US order and having a lot of order in pipeline. And we are just hoping for best that our negotiator, those who are now sitting in Washington, they can show us some magic in next few days or couple of weeks.
Exporters warn the sudden tariff shock could lead to cancelled orders, factory closures and mass layoffs in a sector that employs over 4 million workers, mostly women. The RMG sector makes up more than 84% of Bangladesh's total exports, and any disruption could hit the country's economic lifeline hard.
If this trend continues, and then if it goes up to 35, and then I think there's a calculation of 35 plus the previous 10, because it's an addition, right? So you're looking at 45. No, I'll die. I'll finish off. We own the oldest factory in Bangladesh. My father started this business back in 1977. So I think I'd have to put the nail in the coffin if I have to face 45%.
With the US increasing pressure on low-cost exporters, Dhaka is urgently engaging in trade negotiations in Washington to seek exemptions or revised terms. Trump, in his letter, hinted at the possibility of reopening talks for mutual benefit. But as things stand, the South Asian nation's top export sector is bracing for disruption with high stakes for jobs, trade and political stability. And a tariff storm is sweeping across global economies.
From Tokyo to Seoul and Dhaka, governments are scrambling to shield their economies from a fresh wave of US trade penalties.
Japan and South Korea have been hit with 25% tariffs, prompting immediate efforts to negotiate concessions. Japan is lobbying hard to protect its automobile sector while refusing to sacrifice its agriculture interests. South Korea says it's pushing for a deal that delivers mutual benefit. Cambodia, already stung by earlier duties, has managed to bring down its tariff rate from 49% to 36% and is pushing for more relief. With the US setting an August 1st deadline now, a tight window remains open, but Washington insists that meaningful concessions must come first.
The tariff escalation is driving up the US effective tariff rate to 17.6%, its highest since 1934. According to Yale's Budget Lab, Goldman Sachs estimates that the latest round alone added 1.4 percentage points to that figure. The White House says that the aim is to re-level trade terms in America's favor.
But the consequences are rippling globally. The EU, the US largest trade partner, is racing to strike a deal by the 1st of August, with Germany warning that the bloc is prepared to retaliate if talks fail.
Meanwhile, Trump criticized the EU's trade practices and hinted at sending a tariff letter in probably 2 days.
Well, the European Union has been speaking to us, Ursula, and the whole group, and they've been very nice. They treated us very badly until recently. Now they're treating us very nicely. It's like a different world, actually. They've treated us very badly. They were among the toughest to deal with. Actually, in many respects, they were much worse than China.
Behind the trade headlines, the fallout is already hitting key sectors. Economists warn the cumulative effect of rising tariffs risks stunting global growth while fueling stagflationary pressure in the US and beyond. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent reported a $100 billion income from tariffs, which could climb to $300 billion by the end of the year.
A bad position. We will have taken in about $100 billion in tariff income thus far this year, and that's with the tariffs, the major tariffs not having started till the second quarter. So we could expect that could be well over $300 billion by the end of the year. We don't agree with CBO scoring, but for those who do, the CBO scored tariff income over the next 10 years at $2.8 trillion, which we think is probably low.
Despite the gains, the world is raising alarms on the long-term risk while a trade framework with China was agreed upon in June. It remains fragile. With the separate August 12 deadline looming for more clarity, Trump doubled down on his tariff plans against BRICS, saying that the group undermines the US dollar.
But then a couple days ago, you issued a new tariff threat to members of the BRICS countries for if they aligned with anti-American policies.
10% charge.
That would be India, Brazil.
That's right. They have to pay 10% if they're in BRICS. Because BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to degenerate our dollar and take our dollar as the standard, take it off as the standard. And that's okay if they want to play that game, but I can play that game too. So anybody that's in BRICS is getting a 10% charge.
Now, the Spanish authorities believe overspeeding is likely the reason behind Liverpool and Portugal footballer Diego Jota and his brother Andre Silva's fatal crash last week.
While the investigation is still underway, Spain's civil guard believe Jota was driving too fast when the Lamborghini veered off course after a tire burst. Experts have examined skid marks at the scene and all signs point to the vehicle being well over the speed limit. Initial findings also confirmed that Jota was behind the wheel. Police previously said a tire had probably blown out while the vehicle was overtaking, causing it to crash in the northwestern province of Zamora.
The final report will be submitted to a court. Jota and his brother died on the spot when the vehicle burst into flames on an isolated section of the highway. According to the Portuguese media, Jota was heading to the northern Spanish city to take a ferry to England, where he would rejoin Liverpool for pre-season.
The shock deaths took place less than 2 weeks after Jota married his childhood sweetheart and sent the football world into mourning. The brothers were laid to rest on Saturday in Portugal, with former Liverpool and Portugal teammates joining the family in a final farewell. The craze around the upcoming Superman film refuses to die down.
The film's team recently hit the red carpet for the premiere of James Gunn's film. Take a look.